unkindled one. The fire fades and awaits its one last lord. Prince Lothric is in your hands. Please save his soul.
Good day, folks. First and foremost, I would like to thank all of my new subscribers and welcome you guys aboard to the channel. More than a content creator's outlet, this channel is a community, and it is only thanks to you guys that I can keep on putting up content like this, especially you guys who decide to engage each other and myself in the comment section of my videos. Now, this video is a great example of how your ideas and your comments end up shaping the content in this channel. As today we're going to showcase a theory pointed out in a comment by Fallen Angel 2100 on a previous video. Now, I do not want to spoil the story by showing the comment prematurely, so without much further ado, let's dive right into Fallen Angel's theory. Now, the first Wetnurse we will analyze, it's just the easiest one to do it with, given that she's the one where there's the most information about. Emma. Emma is a Wetnurse for Prince Lothric, a kind, nurturing, loving woman who wants nothing but the best for her prince. Emma waits at the base of Lothric Castle for the coming of the unkindled, reawakened by the Bell of Awakening. This bell was rung because of the inability of Prince Lothric to sacrifice himself unto the fire. And Emma knows this. Now these unkindled ones were coaxed to pursue after the Lords of Cinder absconded, and she knows in the bottom of her heart that they will eventually search for her special boy. Maybe she can protect him, at least for a little while. Emma lets her overprotective nature shine on by deceiving all of the Ashen Ones, shepherding them towards the bottom of the cliff and away from her loved child. In time, Emma is mortally wounded, and it is not until she's about to die that Emma sees the light and comes to the realization that if she keeps protecting Prince Lothric, he will never be able to achieve his destiny and become the Lord of Cinder he was born to be. So, with the last of her breath, she pleads with the Ashen One.
Prince Lothric is in your hands. Please save his soul. Tell him what he must be, a law.
Now let's move on to the second one of the Wetnurses of the Lothric Princes, the Wetnurse for Prince Lorien. Now, while Prince Lothric was a very sickly child, making him need of his Wetnurse a lot, and therefore cultivating a bond with her that borders into a mother-child obsession, Prince Lorien was built as strong as an oak tree, actually being strong enough to slay the last of the demons, the demon prince himself.
Far below, there's a deep, dark hole carved out of a tree. From time to time, voices brim from the depths of the cavity even now. Mutterings of the very demon that Prince Lorien spoke of, I'm sure. Horrible sounds of an afflicted thing, yet cursing men.
So, as you guessed it from that dialogue, Prince Lorien's Wetnurse was the stone-humped hag. Unfortunately, we do not know enough of her to really tell a story, but we can use the information we do have and speculate a bit. The stone-humped hag was blessed by being the Wetnurse of such a strong prodigy, as it liberated her to do what she wanted to really do: research. This old lady, having a keen thirst for knowledge, seizes the opportunity that her position as a Wetnurse to royalty grants her, and researches the Grand Archives. This would be very difficult for another Wetnurse to do, as she would have to spend a lot of time with the child. However, Prince Lorien was a strong boy. That strength Lorien would not have such an intensive need for his Wetnurse growing up as his brother Prince Lothric would certainly need. And so, with this vast amount of free time, the Stonehelmed hag is able to satiate her ambitions for knowledge, and thus uncovers the mysteries of the Pygmies and the Ring City. In time, her beloved child Lorien would become strong enough that he manages to slay the Demon Prince himself. With his chest bursting with pride from this amazing feat, Lorien comes running back to his Wetnurse to inform her of what he had achieved, and loving the child that had been placed under her care, the Stonehelmed hag can do nothing more than praise him for what he did. Time passed, and the princess grew, and it came a moment when it was decided that Prince Lothric would finally light the fire. Yet, this prince, influenced by his teacher and mentor, ultimately decides to let the flame finally fade, and the darkness arrive. It was at that moment that Prince Lothric, whose family's only purpose was to light the fire, is ultimately cursed. Lorien, being the faithful brother that he is, shares in the shackles of this destiny. The brothers hold back the unkindled ones that come for their ashes, and it is not until a powerful Ashen One stands before them that with unrelenting resolve, he defeats both brothers. The moment Prince Lorien perishes, the Stonehelmed hag completely forsakes her duty to the light, and decides instead to serve the Church of Londor, and the darkness that it brings. It is under this capacity that the once Wetnurse of the Kingdom of Lothric, the Kingdom of Light, eventually becomes nothing less than a pilgrim of the Church of Londor. But old habits die hard, and the Stonehelmed hag becomes more obsessed in researching and finding more about the world than pushing the ideals of the Church of Londor forward. And just like that, the old Stonehelmed hag would eventually end her days leering onto the crumbled ruins of the kingdom she once loved. And with that, we have reached the Third Wetnurse of Lothric Kingdom. Now, a lot of you might be scratching your heads. What do you mean, the Third Wetnurse? Well, people, let me tell you. There were 3 princes in the Kingdom of Lothric, and as such, a Third Wetnurse was assigned. I am of course talking about
Ocelot!
Prince Ocelot was the 3rd Prince of Lothric, and although we do not know much about him personally, we know enough to speculate about what happened to him. But in order to do this, we have to briefly talk about his father. King Osiris was the king of Lothric, and there is a very real possibility that he was married to Guinevere, or at least it's very heavily hinted that this is the case, as the Queen of Lothric was revered as a goddess of bounty and fertility, just like Guinevere in Lorien. Now, it is unclear at which point King Osiris went mad, but it is quite apparent that he was obsessed with producing the most worthy heir that would inherit the fire and light the flame, like Guinevere's father before them. It was this obsession that led him to the Grand Archives and to conduct extensive research and experimentation. His firstborn, Prince Lorien, although powerful enough to become a great warrior, Osiris did not believe him to be worthy enough to inherit the flame. Now, it is unclear at this point why this was decided, but it is a fact that he is not selected to do so, and instead he becomes an unsurpassed warrior in the kingdom. At this point, Osiris' ambitions spur him on to up the ante. He decides to start experimenting, trying to enhance his second offspring. With the only purpose of achieving his lofty goals, Osiris puts all the eggs in the Prince Lothric's basket. However, due to the harsh experimentation brought about by Osiris, Lothric is born a frail and sickly child. And even though Prince Lothric is essentially raised to light the fire, he is unable to do so. Osiris is completely and utterly disappointed in this failed experiment. It is at this point that he stumbles upon Seed's research and starts experimenting in the essence of dragonhood. Through his experiments, he manages to attain a quasi-dragon form for himself. Drunk with his own partial accomplishment, he starts believing that he has actually achieved success and has fully transformed himself into a dragon, regardless of if this is true or not. With the thought of him being a true dragon, Osiris turns to his wife and decides to sire a third son, one to be chosen as the descendant of dragons. This boy is named Ocelot. Now, it is completely unclear how this experiment actually turned out, as we never really get to see Ocelot in the game, and we do not even know if he is dead by the time we fight Osiris. Now, we do hear a baby's cry during the battle, and we know there's COD content regarding some sprites for a baby, but that is COD content. And about the crying, there is always the possibility that the crying is just an echo of the past brought about by cursed Osiris, or some other situation like that. However, what we do know for certain is that this child did not get a chance to grow up. However, given how important wet nurses are for Lothric's royalty, there is a very real possibility that the Third Wetnurse of Lothric did get to meet this sweet child, and maybe even hold it in her arms before he was taken away by Osiris. If this was the case, would not this wet nurse, after having failed to protect this child, blame herself for this failure? It is very easy to see how after this, the wet nurse would exile herself and live away from the world at a place where she would not be haunted by the curse of the wretched king. The shrine handmaiden is this wet nurse, and after she failed to protect young Ocelot, she became bitter and distant. At this moment, she decides to go past the king's chamber, through the untended graves, and banished herself to spend the rest of her days in Firelink Shrine. And it is not until now that we find out one of the real reasons why she is so bitter and distant. I think there is another one that has to do with her personal family matters, but that is a story for another time. So, at the close of the Age of Fire, all 3 heirs of the Lothric kingdom lie dead, and the 3 old maidens tasked with safeguarding the little lords fail at their purpose. But what can one expect when the whole kingdom was built upon a lie? So join me in thanking Fallen Angel 2100 for the amazing lore. Without you, this amazing idea would not have been explored. Now here is his comment. I have a theory on the hag's identity. It can't be assumed every Lothric royal had a wet nurse. Emma was Lothric's. The hag appears to be Lorien's. And the shrine handmaiden is Ocelot's. It makes sense since Osiris pretty much kidnapped Ocelot and experimented on him, and since the shrine handmaiden had no baby to take care of, she left for the shrine. Another thing supporting this is that Emma has 2 more chairs at her side. 3 pillars, 3 Lothric heirs. So again, thank you Fallen Angel 2100 for showing us all your take on the lore. Now I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, it helps a lot. And please also let me know what you think about the ideas presented here. If you agree with them, if you disagree with them, or if you have interesting ideas, please leave them in a comment section. Also, if you enjoy my content and you would like to see more, the subscribe button is right there, folks. That is it for today. This is Cheps, and I will see you soon.